Hi everyone, and welcome to Paper Pumpkin Week here on Creative Chelsey. Over the next couple days, I'm going to share with you 12 card ideas you can make with one set of supplies from the September 2024 Paper Pumpkin Kit called Autumn Abundance. The projects from this kit are beautiful with colorful designs, perfect for this time of year. This kit creates a total of 9 greeting cards, 3 in these 3 different designs, and it does include gorgeous coordinating envelopes for each card. If you're interested in watching me unbox this kit and create these cards, you can click on my playlist up here in the top right corner. Today I'm sharing with you my first set of alternative cards. And I have made these 3 cards with one card base. And it is this card here with the colorful blue leaves, red, orange, and yellow. And so from this one card base, I have created 3 cards. And I'm going to walk you through how to make these cards today. I love that the only extra products you're going to need to make these cards are a card base for each card and then a little bit of linen thread or twine. Each month I take the contents from the paper pumpkin kits and make alternative projects. My cards are easy to follow and can be made by both experienced or new paper crafters. You may need just a couple other products to complete them. You can follow along with me using supplies you already have or purchase any products you see me use from my online store. And the link to all products is below in the description or on my blog, creativechelsey.com. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get updates when I post a new video. So to begin with our first card, I am going to walk you through each card individually. So we'll start with the first card, go all the way through, then the second card, and then the third card. So for our first card, we're going to begin with our card base, and we're going to cut this in to this large panel here for the front of our card. And we're going to do this left side. So this would be the back of the card base. If you have already folded it, it's the back side. And from this top left corner, we're going to cut 4 inches. And then rotate and remove just 1/4 of an inch from the top. So we have a piece that's 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And then you'll just want to keep this as is, and we'll come back to that for our other cards. For your card base, you're going to want to pick something that's coordinating. I decided to go with a basic beige color. I felt like it provided just a little bit of contrast so that you can see that front panel, but it wasn't so strong that it was distracting. Let's go ahead and add this to our card base. And I did this a little differently. So I wanted there to be some depth down here in the corner, but I didn't want there to be any depth here in the top or along the edges. So to get that, I took some liquid adhesive and along the top and this right edge, I added liquid adhesive to the edge only. And then I placed it up here in the top right corner so that it meets with the top and right edges. Make sure it lines up with those edges. So just like that. And then I took a dimensional or 2, and you're just going to pop it on your finger, remove the paper backing, and then lift up that corner. And you can add as many as you want, but I'm just going to place 1 just to provide a little bit of depth to that corner, which I think is nice just because we're going to be adding other elements there, and it shows a little bit of contrast between the card base and that beautiful design. So it's just a fun little detail that you can add to your cards. For our cards, you're going to need two things from your kit: this die cut yellow leaf, as well as the long label. And we're going to go ahead and stamp our greeting. I'm going to use the Sending Autumn Wishes, and I'm going to stamp that in the Cajun Craze ink that came in the kit. One thing I love about these little ink pads is they are brand new, so they've got all of this wonderful ink, and so you get this nice strong color. So I'm going to stamp this on the right side and leave the opening on the left for my yellow leaf. Just like that. Go ahead and close up the ink so you don't get ink everywhere. And then we're going to take some linen thread, and I love linen thread. It's a great staple to have, you know, in your craft area. And it's not very expensive. And so I'll include that in the description below, the listing for that. So you can go and get that if you'd like it. And I'm going to wrap it 3 times around my 4 fingers. And that should be around 20 inches, something like that. If it's more or less, that's fine. On the back here, I'm going to add some adhesive. And this can be any type of adhesive. I'm going to use just some double-sided tear and tape. They sometimes will include these in your kit, so I always hold on to my extra adhesive from my kits. Remove that paper backing. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that again around my fingers. Place one side on the tear and tape, and then come around and place the other side on the other side of that tear and tape. Just like that. And then if you'd like, you can pop this up with some dimensionals. I like to put it over the linen thread just to make sure everything stays in place. And I'm going to put another one right in the center just so that the adhesive doesn't stick to the card. Just maybe about 1 inch or so from the base. Bring that up just a little bit. There. And then I'm going to add some glue dots to the back of my leaf. Just keep them in the middle of the leaf because that's the area that will be touching the greeting banner. If you want to add some dimensionals to the top and bottom, you can do that. And that's going to just go off to the left of the greeting. And your card's all done. I love how quick, simple, and beautiful this card is. Let's go ahead and go to card 2. So let's go back to that card base piece. On this side, we have a score line. So that stays on the left. On the right side, we're going to cut 2 inches from this right side. So I'm going to flip that over so it's upside down. So now on this left side, cut 2 inches. And you're going to save this piece with the score line. And we're going to use the 2-inch piece here for our card. Let me give you a little peek at what it's going to look like. This blue piece comes from the envelope. So this is the coordinating envelope. And we're going to remove a little bit from the bottom and the 2 sides so that we can access this beautiful blue inside color. So I just trim off the smallest amount, like a 1/16 of an inch. You're going to want to save this back piece because it is the right color, and we're going to use that for our greeting here because it matches that card base perfectly. So from the straight edge side, so not the side with the flap, but the straight edge, we're going to go ahead and cut a piece that's 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And that's going to be our left side. Then we have our right side panel. And now we're going to take that front or that back piece of our envelope here, and we're going to cut a strip for our greeting. And that strip, let's go ahead and just cut, we'll just cut off the bottom. So that strip's going to be 1 inch. So let's go ahead and remove straight from the bottom. And then it has these little extra flaps, so go ahead and cut those off. They're about 3/4 of an inch on each side. And actually, let's just finish this size. So we need about 2.5 inches again. So this final piece is 1 inch by 2.5 inches, and it's for our greeting. Okay, so we've cut all of the pieces for our card. Let's go ahead and grab our card base. For this card base, I'm going to use thick basic white cardstock. You could use any color cardstock here. I chose white because I wanted it to be a light color on the inside so that I can write my greeting. Let's begin by adding our blue. And this is just going to go straight onto the card with some adhesive. Just use a very little bit of adhesive, just enough to get it to stick. If you use too much adhesive, then your card can bubble and get warped because of the liquid nature of that glue. If you don't like using liquid glue, then use a different type of adhesive. Okay, so you're adding that to the left side of your card. For the right side, I did decide to pop up that panel so that it gives a little more emphasis to that beautiful paper. So add that with some dimensionals. I'm just going to place them in the corners and leave the center untouched so that we can slide our greeting in. And that goes into the corners on the left side. So pretty. I love the contrast between this dark blue and then this beautiful pattern paper. So here for our greeting, we're going to stamp it in that Cajun Craze color with, I'm going to do the same greeting, sending autumn wishes your way. And I'm stamping it in the bottom left corner. Okay. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my linen thread and I'm going to measure about 15 inches. So that's 13, and then we'll just go down to about here. Let's see, 15. I'm going to wrap this around the greeting. So just put it in there. Doesn't need to be perfect. Just stick it in and then tie a knot. You should have about 5 inches on each side to tie a knot. Okay, you want it to be tight, but not so tight that you're bending the paper. This is when having a third hand would come in useful. Okay, so I bent that paper just a little bit. Luckily my knot wasn't super tight yet, so I could loosen that up a little bit. There we go. So once you've got your knot tied, you can move that knot in just slightly because you're going to tuck this underneath here And so just kind of place it temporarily because you want the linen thread knot to be on the outside. You don't want that underneath this pattern paper. So once you have that in place, go ahead and move the linen thread up so it's about 1/4 of an inch from the top. And then go ahead and on the back, add some dimensionals over that linen thread so that it doesn't come off from the card. And let's add another one in the corner on the bottom. Okay. So once we've got those dimensionals on and you've removed the paper backing, let's go ahead and slide this in. And it doesn't really matter where you're going to place it, except for we do want it, the tricky part will be getting it to go right up against that line and then sliding it into and underneath. Okay, so that's another reason why we left this open, so that you can lift that up and just kind of tuck it in there. We'll tie our knot here in just a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to attach this yellow leaf here. Isn't it so pretty? I'm going to have it coming from the base is on the pattern paper, but the leaves are coming off, and it just gives this really fun look like the leaves are coming outside of this rectangle. So on this first one, I guess I put my greeting up a little higher because it's not quite as close to the greeting. So I'm just going to move it over just a little bit. So adjust this yellow branch so that it fits with wherever your greeting is, okay? So I'm going to put a glue dot on these 2 bottom leaves, and then probably just a dimensional on this 3rd leaf, and then another glue dot on the top leaf. If you want to put a dimensional on that top leaf, you could as well. That might be fun. Let's do that. That will make it kind of pop up even more from the greeting. So that barely fits there, this small dimensional. If it shows, I can always trim it down, but it looks like it would be okay. And then let's get some glue dots. Okay. Remove the paper. Perfect. And then come on in here. I'm going to bring it in just a little bit closer. Just like that. Looks like I've got that perfect. That's exactly where I want it to be. Okay, so you want to still be able to see your greeting and have this leaf coming outside of the rectangle just slightly. And then you can take your twine and tie a bow. Just like that. Your card's all done. Another quick and simple card that's beautiful with that beautiful contrast between the blue and all this gorgeous colorful leaves. I just love that card. Let's go ahead and move to card 3. All right, so for this last card, we're going to use this piece. Now it does have a score line, so if you don't want to see the score line, you can emboss this with an embossing folder and it will hide it. I just would make sure that, because the score line continues down into the greeting area, so you're going to want to stamp your greeting first and then emboss it. So I'll show you all the steps there. Let's go ahead. We're going to cut this. So we're going to move this leaf. We're going to move it from the bottom to the top, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So on this bottom side, we're going to cut at 3 1/4 inches. And that's just above this beautiful copper foiling detail. So here we have our greeting area. So now we're going to move that underneath. And for the greeting, let's actually wait. Let's cut one more thing. So we're going to grab our wood card base. We have the large circle on the right, and then we have our like 3 half circles, I'm going to say, on the left. On this right side, we're going to trim a 1/2 inch off of that edge. Okay, so it's off of the large circle, and then we're going to just trim off these white corners. Okay. Just trim off any of the creamy colored corners. So you have a piece that looks like this. Okay. And then we're going to just cut this down just for fun. Let's cut one piece at 3 1/4, which is the size, oh no, it's not. Let's cut it down to 3 inches. Let's just do that. I think that will be good. Yeah, why not? 3 inches. It doesn't have to be exact. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these to cover up the seam and kind of stagger them at a fun angle. Okay. All right. So what we've got is we have our pattern paper. This has been cut. It's about 2 5/8 or 2 1/2. That's what we have. So we have about 2 1/2 inches here by 3 1/4 inches. And then we have our bottom piece that we're going to stamp our greeting on. It also is 2 1/2 inches by, let's see, whatever is left, 2 1/4. So 2 1/2 by 2 1/4. Then we've got our wood piece that is a 1/2 inch strip, and we've removed off the cream colored sections. And now we have a piece that's about 3 inches and one piece that is about 1 1/2 inches. Okay. So not too hard. And you can find all the dimensions for these cards and the pieces on my blog. All right. Let's next talk about the greeting and the stamping. So I wanted this to say with thanks, but the greeting itself was too long for the area that we have. So I'm going to separate these two words into a top and bottom instead of a vertical or a horizontal. So it's going to be a vertical instead of horizontal greeting. So I think this is easiest to do by doing thanks first and then with on top. So with the score line on the left side, you're going to center the word thanks with about 1/4 inch border on the bottom. Then make sure you clean your stamp. Okay, it's very important that you have no ink residue. And then you're going to do with next, and you're only inking up the word that you want. Okay, and then you're just going to center that over thanks, just like that. Very easy technique, and it gives you a great greeting, perfect for this card. Okay, so if you want to emboss this, now is the time. So for this one, I did not emboss. You can see that the little bit of the score line on the card. Let's go ahead and emboss this with something, and so you can see the difference, and then you can decide which one you like. So the embossing folder I decided to use is the Painted Texture, and what I like about this one is it's more subtle texture than some of the other ones, but I think any embossing folder would work well. You can see that you can still see that score line just because that area is flat, but I don't think that it is as obvious or concerning because all the other texture added to this card. So now you can kind of see the difference and decide for yourself which one you like more. We're going to go ahead and add the greeting now to the back of our pattern. And let me just measure this really quick. We're looking for something that's about 4 3/4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and just come over here and kind of use my grid to give me that measurement. It's going to look something like this. So you're going to adhere that greeting down to the bottom, and then we'll take our wood pieces and you're going to pop these up. On one side, you're going to put adhesive, and then on the other side, put a dimensional, just again to give it some fun depth. And that's first one is going to go across, and you can angle it however you would like. Okay. And then the second one, go ahead and pop on 2 dimensionals for support. And we're going to place this at an opposite angle with that darker area in the middle. So something like that. I think it just gives it a really fun look to have those 2 pieces kind of across, like crossing each other. Then let's take our twine and let's do another 15 inches of twine here. And we're going to wrap that around the top, come off to this side. And tie a knot. Once you've got that knot, it should be pretty easy to tie a bow. And then you'll just slide that down closer to the wood. And let's see, I'm just going to kind of angle it up and down a little bit so it doesn't cover up the greeting at all. If you have any extra linen thread on one side, you can always trim off the extra there. There we go. Okay, so once you have that center piece ready to go, I just remembered we also are going to need to grab this brown envelope. There it is. And so we need to remove, just like we did with the blue envelope, remove the bottom and the sides. These are the ones with the folded edges so that you can access the full envelope's color. And again, hold on to this back piece. It's a perfect piece. So we're going to cut this brown envelope to 3 1/4 by 4 1/8. So we're about 4 1/8 now. If it's any shorter, that's fine. So it could be 4 inches, it could be 3 3/4 inches. That part doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and do 3 1/4 from there. So we're going to go, so this is the curved edges on the right side. And whatever the height here is, that's fine. Let's just go ahead and cut 3 1/4 off of that side. And then we're just going to layer that center piece over that back brown piece, just like this. We're going to add both of these with dimensionals to our card. And we're just using a basic white card base. If you want to use a different color, you're welcome to do that. This is the thick cardstock. I love the thick cardstock for card bases. It just has a nice heavy texture to it, which is different from the regular basic white cardstock. So I'm just going to pop on dimensionals to the back of both of these pieces. So let's begin by adding the brown piece first and just doing our best to center that in the middle of the card base. Hopefully it's straight. And then we'll add this piece here. I was just thinking maybe I added the dimensionals a little too close to the corners. Oh, it does look crooked. Okay, we're going to have to try to straighten that out just a little bit when I'm adding this piece. There we go. That should be good enough. Okay, and your card's all done. All right, so here is the close-up. We've got the flat with just a little bit of a score line showing, or the embossed. Which one do you prefer? Just leave a comment below. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing all of the beautiful cards that I've made today using one card base from the Autumn Abundance Paper Pumpkin Kit. If you're interested in getting written instructions or seeing close-up images on how to create these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsey.com. If you would like to subscribe to get your own paper pumpkin kit, please do so using the link in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.